Hi, I'm going to show you how to make this symmetrical card trick quilt panel using symmetrical patches. Now these are from mandalapatch.com. This is the Ruth Ann pack. So this will give you these patches. They're 5.5 centimeters square. They're symmetrical across one diagonal axis, which means you can twist them and turn them and make symmetrical patterns and mandalas in your quilt work. So you get 30 different mandalas, which is 120 different patches. So this is enough to make a couple of these panels like I've made up. So I've cut, the first thing I've done is I've cut them out very accurately, and I've cut the four of each similar patch in the fabric out. I've piled them up and I've laid them out here in the fashion that I want them laid out. These are square, so they're really easy to stitch together using the machine. I'll show you how to do that. And I've also used a contrasting fabric and I've cut them into squares that are exactly the same size. So I've just got a little computer animation here of how the card trick pattern works. You can rewind and watch that a couple of times if you need to. So I've laid out here the patches, including the square patches and the little half square patches that I've got for the edges, because I'm making this into a cushion. If you want to go bigger, go bigger. So I'm just marking now the right hand side of each of these patches so that when I come to sew them together I know which way round they go, because these are symmetrical, these patterned pieces, you don't want to get them the wrong way round. So I'm starting by stitching the 2 points together. Now the seam allowance on the patches is exactly the width of a foot, so as long as you run the foot up the edge of the fabric you'll be in the right place. So I'm starting by stitching together the pieces at the top. You can see they're just square pieces, really easy. If you're a beginner, this is a really simple project. It doesn't get any more simple than this. It's just square pieces being sewn together. So I'm just going to sew these all together in strips, and you can see how that process comes together at the end. So as I say, I'm stitching this one into a cushion panel at the end of the day. So if you want to go larger, all you need to do is lay out more pieces until they're the size that you want them to be, and you can then stitch them together like this, or you can make square panels this size and then stitch them together to make your larger piece if that's simpler for you. So we're just going to stitch our first mandala patches together here. You can see through the fabric to make sure that you're stitching in the right place, and as I say, that place is directly up the edge of your stamper foot here. So you can see I've now stitched all of these rows together just into strips, and we're almost ready now to start piecing these pieces together. So the first thing we need to do is to mark them again, just to make sure that we stitch the right sides together. So I'm just marking the top of each strip, and then I can worry about pressing them. So we can press these seams so they're all facing one way. So you can see I've done that first piece there. The next piece, when I stitch it, I want to make sure that I press so that the seam's facing in the opposite direction. So the first one, the seam is facing to the left. On the second one, I want the seam facing to the right, and this is to reduce bulk when they're sewn together. So you can see they're pointing in a different direction, so I'm just going to now pin these pieces together. You can see there how the seams are running in a separate direction. So I'm just going to carry on now and press all of these different pieces. One right, one left, one right, one left. Just work your way up the design. And you can see now how the symmetrical patches are starting to come together to form these patterns. So there's all my pressed pieces. I'm now just going to start pinning the pieces together. So I'm going to make sure that I bring the centre of the seam together very accurately and just put a little pin. If you put your pins in at a 45-degree angle to the edge, you can then actually 90-degree angle, sorry, to the edge, you can then just sew over them. You don't have to worry about taking the pins out as you go. You can just take those out afterwards. So just make sure that your seams in each case, make sure they're in the right place, and just pin, and then take them to the sewing machine and just quickly whip a little seam along the edge there. So this is a really quick little project actually. Even if you've never done patchwork before, it shouldn't take you too long to put this together. So remove your pins, press that seam open, and there we are, we've started to put this together. So I'm just going to continue now stitching on other pieces. You can see how this pattern is unfolding now. So we've got our first little tiny block of 4, the actual card trick pattern itself, and I've put 4 of these into the cushion top that I'm doing. So there we are, we've got our first little set of patches, and they look really, really effective with these symmetrical mandala patches. So all I need to do now is continue to stitch the rest of the pieces together, and then I get this this top for my cushion. So that's it completed. You can see the different mandalas there. There are 30 mandalas in one 120 patch pack, so 30 possible wheels if you like, and 120 patches, and that's enough to make 2.5 of these, I think. So there we are. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and you'll get all of our films as soon as they come out. I'll be in touch soon with something new. Bye.